Good morning.
Morning.
How's everyone doing?
Sorry, I can't hear. My volume is way down. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm good.
Good morning,
How are
ladies.
you?
Good morning.
Good morning. How's everything going for anyone? Anybody have anything exciting to share? Any news, any clients?
I was
Listings?
showing some properties. It was pretty funny.
Okay.
Showing a property out in Lanark, and oh my gosh, it was one crazy showing. There was like, I opened the door and there was a mannequin in pasties and a G-string, and that pretty much set the tone for the whole place. It
What?
had about 8 mannequins total in it, all wearing different outfits, from like little disco dress with go-go boots to like, and then in the kitchen on top of all the cabinets were just heads of mannequins.
Oof.
And pretty sure the bodies were in the basement, but I'm not in the cellar. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so this was one weird house, man. Lanark is a weird place.
Wow, I can honestly say I've never come across anything like that.
Oh, me neither. Like when I opened the door, I was so taken aback. I'm like, oh no.
That is
I
wild.
feel like they should have kind of mentioned that in the like additional notes to showing agent.
Were there any photos?
There were no photos of the inside, but you know, sometimes I get it, you know, but
Okay.
yeah, I think they should have mentioned, by the way, you may have nightmares after seeing this place. So just beware. Yeah.
So are your clients going to buy it?
No. No,
That is
we're
crazy.
taking a pass on that.
Yeah, hard pass. Wow. I wonder what will happen. I wonder if it will get crazy multiples. Like
Well, you know what? It isn't, they're not holding offers, but if it wasn't kind of, it's right on the highway. So there's this tiny little section of park and you can't really expand the parking, or I think it would be a better option
right.
because of septic and it goes down to the water. You can't expand the parking, but if you could, it actually wouldn't be a bad old Victorian house if you took out the creepy factor. Yeah, yeah, it was weird.
You
Good
missed
times.
Patty had a showing, and there was mannequins everywhere in the house. Mannequin heads, mannequins dressed in different weird outfits. So that's what we're.
But that's like your COVID friendly entertaining, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's all we have now.
That's what we have.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that address from you later, and I will not be going there. All right. Okay, we have a couple people on. Let's jump in. So today I just wanted to talk about kind of the showing process, what that looks like, how to best utilize showing time, what it means to have a successful showing, because that is such an important part of just being a professional working with your clients. I know some of you have done lots of showings in your past. You might have something to add to the conversation. Please feel free to, if there's something that you do or you've done and you feel it kind of works in with this topic and it's something that you will do in your business, chime in. I'm just going to kind of share the things that I do in order to have successful showings. There's a lot of mistakes that can be made. There's a lot of unknown factors that can come at you during a showing. So we're going to cover some of that stuff today. So I think most of you, Patty, Ali, Dennis, I know you guys utilize showing time now, correct? Yeah. Okay. So
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So do you have any of you that I know have utilized showing time? Do you ever set up multiple showings through like a showing cart and do it through that way, or just a single showing?
I usually do the cards so then I can plan the route after.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. And Ali, you're typically just doing a single showing?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever taken a client out where you're showing them more than one property at a time?
No, didn't happen yet.
Okay. All right. So Patty, some of this stuff might be already familiar to you. If you have anything to add, feel free to jump in. I know you've done lots of showings in the past, so feedback is welcome. I'm just kind of adding people in as I go here. All right, so first things first, when it comes to having a buyer or a tenant reach out to you to view a property, the first thing that I always do, if they're contacting me and saying, I want to see this one house, I always ask if there's anything else that they're interested in. Is it just this one house? What is the reason? Is there a reason that there's only one home that you want to look at? So I always ask that because number one, if there's just one property they want to view for a specific reason, like let's say it's next door to their sister, that property is going to be a pretty high chance that they're going to want to proceed on it if they're looking to get into a specific neighborhood. If their sister lives down the road and she does their babysitting, it's all about getting information from them. If it's just that one property for a very specific reason, I will take them to go see just that one property. My next question, if they say, well, no, we just kind of want to see this one, we haven't really seen anything else yet, I want to book as many showings during that time out with them as I can. That's normal and that I have time for. I mean, we're not booking like 30 showings in an hour or anything. But that's going to save you time. You don't want to be doing one-offs. I'm taking you to go see this today. And then on Friday, they're like, oh, I see another one that I want to go see. And then you have to go out again on Friday and so on and so forth. So make sure that you're asking people, is there a reason why this one particular home, or would you be open to seeing others in the area as well? If they're open, send them some other properties and book all your viewings on the same day. I call them viewings, showings, everyone else calls them. I think it's an East Coast thing. So that's just a good rule of thumb in order to prevent you from wasting your time and going out in one trip, giving them options so that you're not, one viewing here, one viewing the next day and so on.
Alexandra, I have a quick question.
Sure.
In a situation where, you know how things are selling so fast nowadays, right?
Yep.
Still some of the properties just go like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the market has slowed down also. So let's say there is one property this week and we schedule for that. We go see that property and we come back because that was the only property of interest.
Yep.
Not because he liked that, but because the inventory was such, right? And next week there's another property and then nothing for a week and then another property. So these are 3 separate showings.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's fine. You can do that. I'm just saying, make sure that they don't actually have 5 properties that they're interested in and they're only calling you and saying, well, let's go look at this one. And then the next day they're like, well, I didn't actually like that one, so let's go look at this one.
I see.
If the properties are coming up at different times, then obviously you can't look at something that wasn't available on the day that you went out for showing.
Okay.
So it's just about gathering information. If they have like 4 that they are interested in, but there's just one that they think is at the top of their list, book all 4. Because the likelihood that, they're going to like that first one, it's not always the way it goes. So just save your time and theirs and go look at all 4 of the properties.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just going to let somebody else in here.
Can I ask one kind of
Yes.
opinion too? Is that when you're doing this, I know I have this one client right now, the same one who I was showing the crazy house to, who keeps kind of just sending me things. We'd like to see this today. We'd like to see this today. How available, because you can't drop everything on a dime and set up 10 showings for them in one, like with 5 hours notice, right? So how available is realistic?
So that is a very good question. And it is something that buyers are going to test you with. Number one, the buyer consultation stuff that I did on Wednesday, that is going to prevent a lot of that from happening. Setting those expectations, having that consultation, you're teaching them how you want to be worked with. So buyer consultation will prevent a lot of that stuff from happening. You really need to be the one that kind of draws the line in the sand. If they are constantly doing that, you just need to let them know. I need at least whatever works for you, 24 hours notice. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to make a list of all the properties that you're interested in, that you really like, and the ones that you're kind of on the fence about, and send them over to me. what I do is I will go through them, and based on my past interactions and conversations, I'll pick the ones that I believe fit best with what they're looking for. And then I'll go back to them and say, okay, we're going to go look at these all together. I use the verbiage that, you know, if we're going out and looking at homes all on different days, you're going to forget so many things. It gets too jumbled in your brain. You're not going to remember the features of each property. If we're going and looking at them back to back all together, you're able to kind of keep a memory of what that property was, and you can compare it to the last. So people usually are pretty good with that. But yeah, it's up to you to kind of draw that line and just let them know, you know, we need to be booking multiple showings when we're going out, and I need at least X amount of notice. You can't be at everybody's beck and call. When you start to get really busy, it's impossible. It's fine when you have 1 or 2 clients and you're like, oh, okay, I have something to go out and do today. But your whole goal here is to build and grow a business. And you cannot do that if you're letting other people dictate your timelines. So I actually book out time in my calendar for when I'm doing everything. So like I have a spot in my calendar for when I am willing to do showings. So maybe it's like, I don't know exactly what mine are, but I might have one evening during the week that I'm willing for those people that can only go on the evenings. I will do Saturday mornings for people that can only do the weekends. But other than that, I'm not doing showings on evenings or weekends. So you can block that time out and you let them know, I have availability on these days. So if you want to see a property, give me 24 hours notice and I can fit you in likely on these days if I'm not already booked. That's my best answer. It's
That's
awkward.
a great answer.
It's awkward sometimes at first,
Yeah.
but you just have to remember that you are a professional, you are a business owner. People will respect it. If we let them run us around, they're going to. If we set a line, they respect it. Usually they're also people that have schedules and jobs and families, and they will understand that. So I would schedule time in your calendar every week for the days and times that you're willing to do showings, and pass those on to your clients and let them know that obviously if you're booked up during that time slot, you'll fit them in for the next one.
The showing time, it only allows us like for 24 hours in advance, right?
Nope.
Nope.
So I'm gonna pop up my screen here, Ali, and I'm gonna show you guys kind of some things on showing time that you might not be aware of. Showing time, you can book. The agent who has the property listed kind of sets how far out you can book, but it's usually 30 days in the future that you can book a viewing.
But we need to give them like 24 hours in advance, right?
Oh, you mean for the seller?
Yeah.
No, you don't have to, no. So in the rep remarks on a listing, you know, on the bottom in the rep remarks, they're usually going to tell you if they need 24 hours. If there's nothing in there, you can book at any time. It will just be up to the agent to confirm it or not.
Okay.
But I mean, I've done situations where, you know, if I have a client that I know is ready to go, and maybe we've written 2 offers in the past for that person and they actually didn't win, and then another similar property pops up on the market, like that's a person that I am going to drop what I'm doing and make time to go view that home, because I know that that's probably a guaranteed sale and that I need to get them into that property before it sells. I know they're going to write an offer on it. I know that it's a house that they're going to love. So in those situations, yes, drop what you're doing, get into the property as quickly as you can. But most people in the beginning are just kind of looking. So don't drop all that you're doing to take them on a viewing. And yeah, every individual listing will have their timelines of what they're willing to accept and how much notice they need. A lot of rental properties will say 24 hours because there's tenants in the property. So we have to give tenants 24 hours notice. But if it's a homeowner that lives there, they're usually pretty flexible when they're trying to sell their house. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And I'm going to show you what I do when I get to a showing situation. Okay, so let's say I have, Joe, and Joe has called me and he said, okay, I have these 3 properties I want to look at. I put them in my favorites on Matrix. Okay. So I don't think I have anybody that has any favorites right now, but okay. So I have 3 maybes here. So I'm going to go to his 3 properties and I'm going to say, okay, great. They want to look at this house. So I'm going to this house. I'm scrolling down here to the rep remarks for anybody that doesn't know, and I'm looking at the things that I might need to know as an agent. Okay. Now to book the showing, if you're just booking one, you can go over here to this little schedule a showing. This brings you to showing time, and I can schedule a single showing on this property. So if I'm just booking one house that I want to go see, I can book a single showing. This is just COVID confirmation. I'm going to get to this page and I'm going to book wherever, whatever day and time that I want to go look at that property. Okay. So that's a single showing, pretty straightforward. What I want to do is I want to have multiple showings. So I know that I'm taking my client to see 5 homes on Saturday at 10 a.m. So I know that this is one of those homes. Hold on one second. I need to get a couple addresses here so I can type them in. 6247 Sundown and 2210 Loyola. All right, so I'm gonna click, so I'm gonna take them to see these 3 properties. So I'm gonna click on one and I'm gonna go to showing time at the bottom here. And I actually wanna add this to a showing cart because I wanna book multiple viewings for the same time for the same person. So I'm adding it to a cart. And it's going to ask me what day. So I want to go out on Saturday, the 8th. And I don't have my, well, let's just say I'm taking Katie out. Okay. If I don't have the contact already, I can add her here. So I've picked my date. I've picked my buyer. I can write a little message for myself if I want to, and I'm just going to click OK. So that brings up that property that I just clicked. Now I know that there are 2 other listings that I want to show this person. So I am going to go up here to add listing stop. And I'm going to add the next property that I want to view. So I've already, I've taken that number down. So I know it's 2210 Loyola. I'm going to search and there's the active listing. So I'm going to click that one and it's going to pop it into my showing cart. Okay.
Will it take the MLS number too?
Yes, I believe so. Yes. Let me see. Let me double check that. This is the one I haven't done yet. So let me just get that number. Add listing stop. Yes, so it will take the MLS number as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no worries. So now I'm going to add this one to my cart as well. So I have my 3 viewings. Now coming down here to the map, this is my personal favorite part. This maps out a route for me. Oh, dear God. Sorry, guys. So it's going to map out a route. It shows me where each property is in reference to the other. What I always do is I pick my starting point. So let's say I'm leaving from the office to actually do these showings. I will add other stop because it's not a listing. It's just another stop. So I'm adding that as office, 2148 Carling Avenue, Nova Scotia, Ontario. And I'm going to add stop. So this is where I want to start from. And I want to know how long it's going to take me to get to my first destination. So I'm going to take this Carling Avenue and I'm going to drag it up to the top because it's my first stop. So now my map shows me, okay, here's my 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that after I'm finished my showings, I'm actually going back to the office. So what I personally like to do, and everybody's going to be different, I actually start my showings the farthest point away and I work my way back to where I'm going. So I like to do the far drive in the beginning and then I work my way back to the office. So I know that this doesn't make sense for me and how I want to do my showings. So I'm actually going to change the order of these. I'm going to switch it. I'm going to do number 4 first, number 3 second, and number 2 last. So I'm just going to move these up. 1, 2. Oh, I did that wrong. Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, so I'm starting at the office, I'm going here, coming here, and then I'm making up my way all the way back to this last viewing, which is closer to the office. So that's how I personally like to map out my routes. Everybody's going to be different on how they do it. The next part that I really like about this is it shows you how much time it's going to take you to get from one property to the next. So it gives you the kilometers and in minutes. So this is going to be a huge part of how you book your time at each property, right? Because you want to make sure that number one, you have enough time to actually take your client through and view the home. And then you're still having time to drive to the next property and have enough time to go in the next one. So I don't need to put a time on this because I know I'm leaving the office at a certain time. So I want my first viewing to start at, let's say,
5 a.m.
heck no. 10 a.m. So we'll start the first one at 10 and usually they can only go for a half hour with COVID. Yeah, so I can change the end time here, but I'm gonna wanna give myself as much time as they're allowing. So I'm gonna save that, okay? So now I know that I need to leave the office. I would probably leave the office right at 9:30 to get here by 10 and have some extra time just in case traffic, accident, whatever it is. Okay, so I know I have 20 minutes to get from the office to my first appointment. So this is 10 to 10:30, and I know there's 9 minutes in between. The way that I book my viewings is with a 15-minute interval. So I would book the next one from 10:15 to 10:45, because I know I'm not spending a full half hour in this property, but every one of you is going to be different, and it depends on the house. So maybe you want to give yourself some extra time. Maybe you don't want to start it until 10:30. I personally don't like to do that because I know that I'm not going to spend the full half hour. It's only going to take me 10 minutes to get here. And I don't want to have my clients and myself sitting outside for 20 minutes or whatever it is, waiting to be able to go into the property. So it's all about looking at the distance it takes to drive to the next place, knowing your clients after a certain point. So some people are in and out of a house like that. Some people want to look at every single little thing. They want to stand and talk in the house for 20 minutes after they've looked at it. Part of your job is to move the process along. So I always say to my people that are taking a really long time while we're in the house, I want them to have their full viewing. But if we start to go over our time, I have to let them know, okay, guys, we are almost at the end of our timeline to be in this property. So we need to head out and get to the next one. So you have plenty of time there as well. So it's just about timing everything properly. Again, you can book however much time in between you feel you need. For the 24-minute one, I probably wouldn't even book this next viewing until, I don't know, 11:15 to give myself lots of time. Okay.
Actually, I noticed something when you were in there. It said notes for the selling agent.
Yep.
What like or listing agent? What?
I've never used that.
Okay.
So honestly,
Yeah,
if
no,
anyone else here has ever used it, feel free to chime in.
I was just wondering what the hell you would say. Like, what's, yeah.
Let me think about that for a second.
Are there mannequins scattered about the property that I should
Yeah.
know about? Yeah, that's what
Keith
you do.
missed that. Patty had a property she went into with mannequins everywhere, mannequin heads and bodies, and yeah.
And they were scantily clad too. Let
Did
me
you get that? I recommend getting the hell out of there.
Yeah, exactly. So this is how you utilize this system properly. I know a lot of people are booking single showings, but this is going to save you a lot of time. Once you have determined your timelines and when you want to go into each property, you can send requests up here. Okay, so this is going to send the request for the viewing to the listing agent. If you want to pick a smart route, like you want the system to tell you what the best route is, just click this. And they're gonna tell you what the best route is. So they're taking it back to the way that they would do it, starting closest. I just personally prefer to start far away and work my way back.
Yeah, that's the smart way to do it, really.
So they will give you the route of like the first one that's closest to you where you're starting. Sometimes I even add another stop. If I'm out doing showings and then I have a listing appointment after, I'll add another stop and put the place I need to go after my viewings. So I want to end closest to that place, right?
Can a listing agent like cancel your appointment last minute? Like, let's say something
Yep.
happens and then they cancel it. Is that ever an issue?
Yeah, that's happened to me lots of times. If they cancel it, then you're going to have a gap in your showing schedule. So
That's the worst, right? Because then
Yep.
your customer and you are on your way there or whatever. And
yeah. So you can do one of two things. You can wait it out and you let your client know, I'm very sorry, but the listing agent actually just canceled our viewing on this next home. And we can't go into our third viewing until such and such a time.
or maybe they cancel it because it was sold.
Yeah, sometimes that can happen. Yeah. You can wait it out, or you can hop on your app, on the Showing Time app, and either send the agent a message or try and reschedule the viewing for an earlier time if it's like an extended time in between. Sometimes I've done that in the past just to keep things moving along, especially if it's a property that's like listed as a go and show. So that means that there's no, like, it's an automatic confirmation to go into the property, right? So you can go in and try and see if you can get an earlier time, but most of the time you're probably just going to have to wait out the timeline until the next viewing. So I in that situation, I just tell my clients to go grab a coffee or a water or whatever it is, and we'll meet at the other property at such and such a time. And I go do my own thing for, I mean, if it's like 10 minutes, no big deal. If it's like a half hour, go grab yourself a coffee or.
I've done that before, where we'll go grab a coffee and kind of discuss the ones we've
Yeah.
seen already, and then
Yep, you can do
see
that.
how they add up. If there's any they cross off the list, maybe that's a good time to do that.
Exactly. Yep, that's perfect time to do that. You can have discussion with them. You're further building that relationship with the client.
I have a quick question. I know the answer to this, and it's very, it may sound funny, but please, just to, because he's my client, I'll pay for the coffee, right?
I
That
would,
would be the right thing to do, right?
yes, I personally would. Yes, I would offer to get the coffees. Yes,
Mhm.
that would be a good thing, and it's a write-off, so keep that receipt. Yeah, no, that's a good question. Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Okay, so this is the initial process of getting everything set up and preparing for your timelines. There's nothing worse than going out with somebody and feeling incredibly flustered and not knowing where you're going or not knowing the directions or forgetting whatever or trying to book something on the fly. Just being prepared will make the whole process go smoother. You will feel more confident and your client will feel like they had a good experience. So the next part of that is actually getting prepared for once you're there with them. So the way that I do things is I go in and I look at the properties that I'm showing, and I actually print. I'm kind of old school in this way. I print these listing sheets. So I print the agent detail version. I know some agents just save them on their iPad and take an iPad with them. It's whatever you prefer. Now I print these and I mark on them. So I'll go in and I'll look at this property and I will say, okay, area 2006, it's a 3-bedroom, it's a row unit. And I'll go and I'll find a couple comparables that have sold in the last 30 days. And on my piece of paper of this sheet at the very bottom, I'll make a couple little notes. Okay, so 3 homes in the last 30 days that are comparable to this sold between, I don't know, 380 and 420. That's information and data that I'm going to talk about while I'm in the house. I'm preparing my client for what to expect if they want to proceed with an offer. And it makes you look extremely knowledgeable and like you know what you're doing. So it just takes me 2 seconds to go and look at some comparables, and I make a little note on the sheet and I have it with me while I'm in the house. And I do that for every property that I'm showing. So I have something to say about every property, the data, the market. And I just make the note right on the bottom here. It's just my own little scribble and pen. You can also make some little extra notes, whatever you want. If there was something in the rep remarks, like I know that they have a status certificate for this property on file. So I might make a little note of that for myself, that while I'm walking through, I'm going to let my client know that, you know, what's great about this home is that they actually have all the condominium documents on file. And then that turns into a conversation of kind of talking about what that is and what we need to do with it and how it helps us. If they had something here about, you know, when the roof was fixed, or if they had a leak in the basement at some point, there's all kinds of little things that you can talk about as you walk through a property, other than there's 3 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms, you know, like those are the basics. We all can see what that is. Our clients know what those things are just from walking through and looking at the house. We want to be giving them valuable information that they don't have from looking at the property. So I just always print all of these listing sheets for every property that I'm viewing, and I make some little notes of things that I can talk about while I'm in the house that is going to actually be valuable to them. Sometimes I'll even go and say what it sold for in the past. Probably in a seller's market, it doesn't really matter anymore, but that was something I used to do. If like a client had purchased a home a year prior and then was selling it again, I'd let them know what they sold it for. You can talk about all kinds of different things, but make some notes on your sheet to prepare yourself for when you get in there so that you don't feel like lost and not knowing what to say other than 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, here's the kitchen, etc.
A quick question.
Yep.
Just thought of something about the showing time in the map and the that it plans out the route for you. Does in the app, is it like a GPS thing or no?
Oh, like can you use it to get there?
Yeah, like it'll, you know, like Google, no?
No. So I GPS everywhere I go. So I have my sheets with me and I know, okay, I'm going to this property first, and I just put it in my GPS when I get in the car.
Okay.
You can like print directions. So right here,
Turn by turn, yeah.
turn by turn. I've done this in the past if I know I'm going to a really rural area and I might not have any reception. That's a really good question, Heath, because I've actually run into this where I'm like sitting in the middle of nowhere and I have no idea where to go. That has happened to me before. And I'm like panicking because my clients are probably already there waiting and I am not knowing what to do. I've actually been incredibly late for a showing because of that happening. So I have started, if I'm going somewhere rural, to print these directions. And I keep them with my listing sheets. I take a clipboard with me and they sit in the back. And if I need them, they're there.
Yeah, it's good to go old school then, bottom line.
That was a really good question. That's a good point. Yeah, so all this stuff is right here. You can also get a full map view like this, whatever it is that you need. But yeah, it is good to go old school sometimes because technology doesn't always work.
And we're going to lose showing time eventually, right?
I don't know. I don't know. There are other systems that are similar to this that you can like buy into as an agent. Not as good as this though.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, I know. This system is amazing.
Because there's like a printout, like you go into Showtime and you get your route, and then you can send that to your client, and they can see everyone in order is that you're going to.
Yep.
I can't remember what button it is, but
I
yeah,
can't remember either, Patty.
But I think if you go into your Showtime account, then you can
Yeah.
see your
Like,
plan or something, your booked showings, and then it's awesome. I usually will forward that to them because it's super awesome.
Yeah, very good point. So if you go into your showing and you can go to your showing carts, I think it's in here, Patty. but I don't have anything set up, so. But yeah, you are right. You can send everything to your.
Oh, the I have requested, is that maybe that one?
Let's see. I have requested.
Oh, no, there, that view.
Okay.
Usually it comes up like that and then it has all them and it gives you a little
Yeah.
blurb, some little blurb about the property. I can't remember what button it
Yeah,
is, but it's
yeah. I
really
don't.
good, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't have any booked, so you can't see it, but
Yeah.
yeah. And there would be like a button that you could send an email. Yeah,
That's
that's a good
awesome.
point too.
That's so pro when you send that to your client.
Yeah, exactly. It makes them feel like you're prepared, right?
Yep.
It's super professional.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing that I always do with these sheets, again, whether it's on your iPad or in a notebook, or if you're printing the sheet, I always write down at the top of the sheet if it's an I box or if it's a coded box. And if it's a box that just has like a code that I have to put in, I write that on my sheet, because I do not want to be standing at the front door fumbling through my phone trying to find what the code is for this particular property. That's a pain. It looks unprofessional. Be prepared. So some properties have I boxes, some properties have codes. I write it right on the top of my sheet. So when I'm walking up to the front door, take a glance at my clipboard and I know what code to put in. So that's going to save you some grief in the future. Another thing, does everybody have their like Supra e-key for iBoxes and stuff on their phone? I know most of you do. Veronica, I know you're getting yours.
Yeah. I've got-
I have mine's all set up now.
Okay, awesome. Very good. So that's another thing that I always do. The morning before I'm heading out on showings, I check and make sure that my e-key is updated. Because if it's not, Patty, you're laughing because you know. If it is not, and you get to the host and it's an iBox and you have not updated your e-key, you are standing outside with no way to get in the property with your client standing with you. So always make sure that you go in and check that your e-key is updated before you leave to go on your viewings. I have had this happen to me more times than I want to admit, and it is extremely embarrassing. It's extremely frustrating. You and the clients are sitting there, and then you're trying to call Supra and get an update code, and it's a nightmare. If you get a new phone, I'm telling you guys all stupid things that I have done. If you get a new phone and you just download the Supra app, that's not enough. You have to actually go in and get a code from Supra and install it all on your new phone. So I've done that before, where I've gotten a new phone and I've just downloaded the app thinking that everything is set up. And then I've gone to a showing and it doesn't work. So always check your e-key before you head out to a showing and make sure that it's updated.
How do you check it?
Okay, yeah, one thing I want to add too, because you can have your Bluetooth on, but if you don't have it, like, I don't know if you can see this, but like in your actual, you can't, your Supra e-key thing, it's got a Bluetooth setting. If you go into the Supra e-key and you have to have that Bluetooth on, or you won't get any access and you won't know why. Happened to me.
Thank you, Patty. That's a really good point too. I haven't had that one happen, but yeah.
I couldn't figure out why. I'm calling them going, why won't it work? My Bluetooth's on, but there's an actual Bluetooth setting within the Supra e-key that has to be on, or you're out of luck.
So what she's saying is you need to have the Bluetooth turned on your phone, and you need to make sure that it's on within the e-key.
Do you use those, Alex, for your listings?
Lock iBoxes.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting question, because I was just toying with this yesterday. So when I was an agent in Nova Scotia, I didn't use anything else and nobody used anything else. Like you would never see a coded lockbox in Nova Scotia. Everything was e-key. So when I came here and I saw that people were using like coded lockboxes, I thought it was the most unprofessional thing I ever saw in my life. I couldn't believe it. Now, since I have a person that works for me who's an assistant that is not licensed, and yesterday I really needed her to go to a property and pick up a couple things and remove my iBox, and she can't because she doesn't have an e-key. So I probably am going to switch over to coded boxes for that reason.
Yeah, I see a lot of agents, they only use the coded boxes,
And
but
I think I just had this issue myself for the first time, and now I'm like, okay, maybe that's why. Because they have to be the one to physically go and get that box. The other thing that can be a pain about it is, let's say you put an iBox on a property and you have a photographer and a stager and a whoever else going in. Well, you have to be there to meet them every single time to let them in.
yeah.
That is a big fat waste of your time. So the key coded boxes really do help with that. And there is a sheet when you're listing a property that a seller has to sign stating that they're allowing photographer, videographer, stager to go into the home without you there. So you'd be all protected on that front, and you can just give that person the code. But everybody's different. I always was of the mindset that iBoxes were better until it started eating into my own time. So I probably will use key coded boxes in the future.
That sucks because I bought 2 extra iBoxes.
They're
That's
still good, but they're solely reliable on your phone too. So if you
That's the
have
other-
any issues with your connectivity or anything like that, you're out of luck.
Yes, that is a really good point as well. If there is any kind of issue with your phone, guys, I have done anything that you could think of that could go wrong. It has happened to me. I started when I was 21. I had no business even running my own life, let alone trying to help somebody buy a house. I was a mess. I have done everything wrong that you could ever imagine. I've had situations where I didn't charge my phone the night before, and then I'm like panicking and running to go to a showing, and I get there and my phone's dead and I can't open the box. So I'm now sitting in my car with my phone plugged in and saying to my clients, I'm really sorry. Like, I've had the worst, most embarrassing things you could ever have happen. So make sure your phone is all charged up. Anybody out there, plug it in the night before and make sure it's got lots of battery. But yeah, Patty, that's a really good point. If your technology doesn't work, you can't get into the property. And that's very unfortunate. Those boxes also can sometimes freeze really bad in the winter. I've had that happen before too, where I can't get the thing out because it's completely frozen inside.
Yeah, screw the iBox then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you don't want to discriminate, but I find older agents, I worked with an older agent and she wouldn't even go near a property that had one. She's like, well, I can't get into it then. I
Yeah.
won't even show it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I was always the other way until I started having these types of issues and saying, okay, maybe the coded box is the way to go. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions, comments at this point?
The Supra key, sorry, I can't see. So I have Bluetooth on my phone, but I can't see where is the Bluetooth on Supra key.
Patty, do you know where that
Yeah.
is?
if you actually go into your settings,
So I go to more, and then I see my settings, and then
you
it
go into
says
your settings and then you just keep scrolling down. It shows you every single app you have.
so what's the last one is showing me is require biometrics, but I don't see Bluetooth.
Yeah,
Automatic update.
As soon as you open settings, you
Mhm.
get your, I can't really, nothing's really showing on.
I'm
Anyway.
seeing what Sue
Yeah.
is seeing as well. I don't see anything for Bluetooth either.
No, if you go right into your settings and you open your Supra e-key,
Oh, you want us to go into settings on our phone?
settings on your phone, and
Okay.
then go into the Supra e-key. There's a Bluetooth setting within that one, not just your phone Bluetooth. You have to have this. Anyway, this is something that I didn't have on, so I'm mentioning because it stymied me for a while.
No,
As to
that's
why
good, that's
nothing would
good.
open.
So it's the,
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, I see where you're saying now.
Because if that one's off, it doesn't matter if the Bluetooth for your phone is on, it's not going to open the iBox.
I'm struggling to find the settings on my phone. I found it. That's how bad I am.
I know I even called Supra and they were trying to walk me through it and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And it was just one of those weird moments where I happened to be going through something like, oh, that might be the problem.
Okay, so to talk about the E-key for a second, if you ever wind up in a situation where you are at a viewing and it says you need an update code, there is a number that you can call to get one. You can look it up, but it's 888, it's 1-888-968-4032. So I would save that in my phone. I have that saved in my phone under Super E-key. So if you ever do get to a property and you go to use your E-key and you realize that you needed to update it and you haven't, you can call that number and get an update code.
What's that number again?
It's 1-888-968-4032.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Alex, if you wanted to pick up a mechanical box just in case, especially because I'm not going to get mine for at least a few weeks, she's a little bit behind.
Yeah.
Where would I go? Just go on Amazon or something?
You can go on Amazon or you can go to like Home Depot, Rona, any like building supply store.
Oh, they would have it. How much do they cost? Do you know?
$49.99 plus tax.
Oof, that's expensive.
But I think, doesn't Keller Williams have them too?
Possibly, Heath. I'm not sure, to be honest.
I think they have them for $30. I'm not sure.
No way.
I think so.
Learning something new here. I didn't know that. Okay, and I would say too, there's a couple of different key boxes you can get, Veronica. So there's the ones that have like, let me show them on here. I don't even know what it's called. Lockbox, Home Depot. Get this style here. If you're gonna get them, do not get these.
I don't see what you're talking about.
Oh, you can't see my screen?
No. Hold on.
It says I'm screen sharing.
I can see it.
Okay.
Really? I can't see it.
Maybe minimize the screen on your side, Veronica.
Yeah.
Okay, I did. Switch to share. Oh, there we go. Switch to sharing content. There's now before.
Okay. So do not get this style.
Okay. Get the master.
The
other master.
These ones here.
Okay.
These completely freeze up in the winter, and they seize and they get stuck and they break.
I've never seen those. I've only ever seen those.
Okay, so get one like this.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
No worries. So yeah, I think that's kind of all I really wanted to talk about, was to show you guys how you can book showings easily, how to map out your routes, and just to give you some basic general tips on making sure that you don't run into any of the issues that I have in the past. I think being prepared and having information and having those listing sheets in front of you is important as well. The listing sheet itself, any question that the client asks you while you're in the property, if you don't know it, you can find it on your listing sheet. I actually will highlight certain things in there. If there's certain important notes that I know people tend to ask, I'll make little highlights so that if I don't have the answer right off the top of my head, I can glance down and I know one of those highlighted areas is going to give me some information. So it's just about being prepared. That's all having a successful showing is about, being super prepared when you go in.
I got a question about the status certificate.
Yep.
What a shocker. Heath has a question.
I love that you ask a lot of questions. It makes my life easier.
The status certificate, do you just like, I would think that I need to know that document to tell my clients, but then that's a lot of, then you're also taking on like almost, well, you told me, you know what I mean?
You never take responsibility for what's in a status certificate. You always put it back on the client and the lawyer.
And then do you print it? So I noticed, remember you were looking at one and it had it in the attachments. Do you give it to the client?
Yes. So hold on one second here. So what I would do, where did that one go? Was it this one? One second.
Yeah.
Yes, this one. Yeah.
I'm gonna move you all over. I know you guys can't see what I see, but I've got other stuff on my screen here. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here to my documents. This is where I'm gonna find anything that the agent has attached. And yes, I would download these and I would forward them to my client and let them know here's the status certificate. Now, I've already had a full conversation in my buyer consultation about what a status certificate is, what's contained in it, what their responsibility is as a buyer. I've already gone over all of that. So they know what these documents are and they know to expect them. So I
you
now
just have to tell us. That's enough. That's all.
Pardon?
I'm saying now you just have to tell us, and that's all.
Yes. Yeah, we can do something on condos too. That's a whole other thing.
Isn't it the main thing is if there's, what do you call it, special assessment?
Yep. So, okay, do you guys want a quick rundown on condos? Is that where we're going with this? All right, let me give you a quick rundown on condos. So I'm going to explain it to you exactly how I explain it to my clients. So when a condominium is built and they create a condo corporation, they bring in, let's say, an engineering firm. And that engineering firm looks at every single aspect of that property, from the roof to the light fixtures in the hallways, to the pavement outside, to the heating system, to the carpet in the hall. They look at every single part of that property. And they create a document called a reserve fund study. The reserve fund study is taking all of the elements of the building and saying, this thing, the roof, we anticipate will need to be replaced in 2025. And with the cost of inflation, we believe that it will cost X amount of dollars at that time to replace it. So we know that by 2025, we have to have this much money in our fund to replace that roof. They do that with every single part of the building. And that's how we come up with our condo fees. So they have the reserve fund study. It tells you how old everything is, when it's going to need to be replaced, what it's going to cost to replace it, and a budget for how much money they need to have at any given time in the fund. Okay. So they take that data and they create a reserve fund. And that's actually the money that is allocated for those items. That money comes from the condo fees. So they take that one huge number and say, in order for us to get this amount of money by this time, every condo owner has to pay X amount of dollars. Okay. So that's how they come up with condo fees. And then they also put in like maintenance and snow removal and that kind of stuff into that fee as well. So essentially your condo fees are paying for, yes, your regular maintenance, if there's any extras in the building, but it's really paying for future repairs and upgrades to the building. That's what the condo fees are. Those condo fees go into the reserve fund, okay? So where we get into things like special assessments is, let's say they said that they were gonna need $75,000 by 2025 to replace the roof of the building, okay? And then we get to 2021 and they actually realize that, well, the building really needs to be replaced now. And they go and they look at the reserve fund and they say, crap, we don't have enough money in the fund because the roof needs to be replaced early. We were expecting to have this much more condo fees come in over the next 5 years. So they have to do a special assessment to make up those funds, right? So they look at it and they say, okay, it's going to cost us this to replace the roof. We have two options. We can have each individual condo owner pay one big lump sum, or we can increase the condo fees. So they're going to choose which one of those options they're going to do. And every person in the building is responsible to pay for however they decide to proceed with that. There's no getting out of it. So they might come to every person and say, each condo owner has to pay $7,500. Or they'd say, we're increasing our condo fees by $75 a month. And every person is now responsible to pay that amount.
Alex, so I've noticed in Ottawa, because I've been looking at condos for my client, and a lot of the condo fees are like in the 600s. And I'm assuming because it's an older building and stuff has happened, it increases over time. But how do you know what's reasonable and what's not?
Well, it depends on the amenities that are included in the building. So what is it that they're offering? Is it just regular lawn care and snow removal? Is that
Yeah, basically
what it is?
Yeah.
you'd want to look at, are there utilities included? Do they have a concierge service? If there's a pool, a gym, those things all increase the condo fees. Sometimes condo fees are just higher, and you're right, in an older building, condo fees are going to go up over time. It's inevitable. You're never going to have a condo fee that just stays where it is forever. They're going to increase. That is.
Yeah, but a condo fee over 700, it's like almost like you might as well up your budget and get a freehold at that
So
price.
that's where you need to look at the status certificate. So that's the whole point of the status certificate. You're looking for things like what I was just talking about.
Mhm.
So you're not looking for it, a lawyer is looking for it.
Yeah.
So you're sending these documents to your client. Here's the status certificate. I personally always send it to their lawyer for them. The lawyer that I use for condos, I think he's the best. He does like a full report and breakdown of everything, so it's easy for the client to understand what's in there. And you're looking for things like, okay, have there been 10 special assessments in the last 10 years? That's a huge red flag. That means that that building is probably not managed properly, and that there's issues, and that there's probably going to be special assessments in the future. So those are the type of things that your client should be looking for in a status.
So you just have to go by your client's like budget, like, oh, I don't want to pay more than like $400 condo fee a month, and you just don't show them anything above it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be dependent on their pre-approval too, right? So they might be pre-approved for a certain number. Let's say they're pre-approved for 400,000, but that could mean that they actually can only afford a $300 condo fee. If they find a $400,000 condo that has a $700 condo fee, they might not even get approved by the lender for that.
Okay. And I would love the name of your lawyer. If you can text it
Yeah,
to me.
it's Michael Abrams. I'm sure lots of you guys are familiar with him. He's fantastic, amazing. Really like him for condominiums, and he's with Kelly Santini.
How much does it cost for him to do that report?
It's part of the lawyer fee, like part of the lawyer review.
Okay.
What's his last name? Sorry.
Abrams, Abrams.
Quick question here, and this is about being cost effective, right?
Sure.
So how, they see 5 condos. You're not going to send all 5 status certificates to the lawyer, because lawyer roughly charges what, $250 plus HST just to look at the report.
No, you're not sending the lawyer. You're only sending the lawyer a status certificate on a property that they're proceeding on.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So this is all when they've signed the paperwork and then you send it, and it's in the conditions.
So yes and no. So right now it's impossible to have conditions for a status review, and that's why most listing agents have these attached to their listing, because they know that people are going to come in with no conditions, right?
Yeah.
So you representing a buyer, if you're competing against 10 other people and you have a clause in your document that says, a clause in your offer that says we have 10, well, you need more than 10 days, because it takes 10 days just to get the status certificate if it's not on file.
Mhm.
So we need 15 days to review our status certificate.
Mhm.
You're not getting accepted. If there's other people that have an offer with no status review, you're not getting accepted. So what I typically do, and you have to have, I shouldn't say what I typically do. If you reach out to a lawyer that you have a relationship with and say, hey, my clients really want to proceed on this property. We have a status certificate on file. Would you be able to review it before I have an accepted offer in place? They're either going to say yes or no. They can or they can't. They either have the time or they don't. But I would ask for it to be reviewed beforehand, so that your client is comfortable before they write an offer. And then that means that they're confident going into the offer without having that condition in it.
Got it.
That makes sense?
Yes, it makes sense. It makes
So the
sense.
newer the condo is, it's like the less of a chance that it's gonna have issues with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But-
I'm just wondering, because like if you don't have, like, you can't get a chance to get the status certificate reviewed, and it's like an older house, like that's done in like 1980s or whatever, then like you're kind of shit out of luck.
Yeah. No, I shouldn't say that. There are some older condominium buildings that are incredibly well run, that have plenty of healthy funds in their reserve. So you can't really base it on that. Every single property is going to be different. You can look at the condo fees and know if you're looking at a $700 a month condo fee and there's no extras, they have no extra amenities like gyms or pools, and there's no heat or power or water included in the condo fees. If it's just like lawn care and snow removal and you've got like an $800 condo fee, huge red flag for sure.
Okay, and if there is all that and it's around 500, that's most likely like okay, right? Like I've seen the 500s like the average right now.
Yeah, that's like not uncommon.
Okay.
But I don't want to say yes because every property is different.
It's just hard because like normally you just send it to a lawyer and they'll review it, right? And then you're fine, like ease of mind. But if you can't add that in your conditions because they're most likely gonna lose out on the property, then and you don't have a relationship with a lawyer because you're a newbie like me, like
You'll,
sucks.
you'll figure it out, and you can look through the documents. Like they're not. Heath, did you have a question before I?
Yeah, the red flag, what would be a red flag? So yeah, like you said, there's no amenities, but it's still $800. Is that, what do you,
Then you probably want to look at the reserve fund and see, was there a special assessment in the past? What was it for?
in the past? Okay.
Yeah, it's probably something that happened in the past. Some properties you'll see like seller willing to pay $20,000 special assessment prior to closing. So there might be a current special assessment in place, and the seller might actually be willing to pay that off before your person moves in. But then you have to look at, why was there a special assessment? Is it just something that they couldn't have prevented, or is the building really poorly run and there's going to likely be more of those in the future?
Okay.
So I just did one the other day. I firmed up on a condo deal, and there was a lot of red flags in the status certificate. There was a current special assessment planned for next year, and a lot of red flags. The only reason my client decided to proceed is because a new company just took over the condominium corporation, right? So that's the other thing you want to look at. Who's running the building? Have they always been running the building? Is there a new building, or a new management company in place? So if you look at those things, if you look at those things, my client was comfortable at that point. She said, okay, maybe it hasn't always been run great, but now we know that this is a good management company and they've taken over, and she spoke with them before she firmed up her deal.
And that's from you looking at the status certificate, or from the lawyer?
A lawyer, but we were able to have a condition in our clause. This was a condo in Embrun, and the tenant that was living there smoked in it, so nobody was offering on it. So my client.
Okay, so I guess it depends on the property then, right? So if it's like in the south lower income area, like very small budget, like in the 200,000s, like maybe you can add an offer, add a condition.
If you're not competing, that's the only criteria. You can write an offer that has a bunch of conditions and submit it. The listing agent is going to have to notify you if you end up in competition, and then you can decide to revise your offer. So if you write an offer with conditions and you're the only offer, and then the listing agent calls and says, hey, Veronica, you're actually in multiples now. I have 4 other offers. Do you want to revise? You're going to say, okay, I'm going to go connect with my client and get back to you. You're going to call your client. You're going to say, I've just been notified that we're now in multiple offers. There are 4 other offers on the table. Do you want to make any revisions to your offer? And then you're going to decide, are you going to take out conditions? Are you going to increase the price? Are you going to do both? What are you going to do?
And by doing that, you just write an amendment.
No.
Or you just scratch it off and sign next to it?
Scratch off and sign, or write a new offer, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, scratch off, fill in the new thing, have your client initial by it, or I would probably just start with a fresh blank offer.
Okay, fresh blank offer.
Just go.
Because no one has countered it or anything yet, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever read the status certificate yourself at all, or you just stay away from it?
No, I always do. I
Okay.
always make it very clear in an email that I am not responsible for any information I provide based on the status certificate, that I'm not an expert on status certificates, and that I'm just another set of eyes in case there's something to be caught that I would then pass on to the lawyer.
Yeah, that's good.
I make that very clear.
But you never say there's a couple of red flags here. Do you tell them the red flags, or do you say there's a couple of red flags and I think you should speak with the lawyer about it?
I would probably leave that to the lawyer if the lawyer's looking at it. That's
I'm the
such a hard one.
I'm the type that would want to give my, like, I want to,
Yeah, so here's what I would say on that. I do, if I see something that I think is out of the ordinary, I will let them know. But I've looked at a lot of these. I don't know if I necessarily would have done that as a brand new agent. It's always better to, oh, I can't even open them, my computer's full. It's always better to defer to the lawyer. But if you do see something and you know that, like, okay, that's a red flag, you can point it out to them. But you're also going to tell them to review these documents.
yeah. And the best thing, like you said, is just say, look, I don't want to be, I'm not an expert in this whatsoever, but here are my thoughts, and that's it.
Yeah, so I do have to pop off here, guys, but I think somebody has a question. I see a hand raised somewhere.
Alexa, it's me.
Yeah. Hi, sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
just seeing it now.
I mentioned in the chat too, like during the showing, when we book the showing to the showing time,
Yep.
do we have to write the buyer name? And do we have to leave the remarks after when we finish the showing? Because they
So-
send that.
Did you say, do you have to include the buyer's name?
Yes.
No, you do not.
Okay. And what about,
If you decided to do that, it's just for your own personal. So when you go into your showing carts, you
Okay.
know who you have stuff booked for.
and after the showing, they usually ask for your remarks. So do you
Yes.
have to give it or no?
It's definitely professional courtesy to leave feedback. Yes, I would say yes, you should leave feedback.
Okay, either it's a good or bad or whatever it is, like my client didn't like it or
Yep, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, you should give them feedback. That's a professional courtesy. Do you have to? No, but you really should, regardless of if it's good, bad, or ugly. That's what we want as agents. If I'm
Okay.
representing a seller and I've tried to tell them 10 times that, I don't know, they need to paint the ugly living room, and
Yeah.
then somebody comes and says, yeah, the paint was really like overbearing and we didn't like it, that's great. That solidifies my comment that I've already made that they wouldn't listen to me on. So yes, give feedback wherever you can.
perfect. Thanks.
I have a quick question before you pop off. This is unrelated, but for like if I want to deliver a flyer to my neighborhood, because I already have one ready to go, but I only want to give a physical flyer to the ones on my street. And then the ones that are not on my street, I'm trying to be like innovative and I want to send like a picture of it as like a text message, mass text to the people in my neighborhood. Is that, I can do that, right?
Do you have all their
Because
numbers?
Kendra showed me the where you find everyone's number from their address.
But that's on telelisting, right?
Yeah.
Those are probably host phones and not cell phones. More than-
Okay.
More than likely, those are usually host phones. That telelisting is essentially a phone book.
Okay, so there's no way to like do mass texting then, only for sale by owners if you have their cell phone number in the listing.
You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to take people's information from MLS.
Oh, not from MLS, from for sale home, because I heard that if you can contact for sale by owners.
Where are you getting the data?
Just from different for sale by owner websites.
Okay, so that's a whole other conversation and we can talk
Okay.
about it another time.
Okay, no problem.
But yeah, telelisting is mostly going to be home phones because it's essentially like a phone book.
Okay, so it's better to call them and leave a voicemail than it is to text. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to look through, somebody said another issue with iBox is the battery. I was at a property for showing and the iBox battery was dead. Yeah, that's a really, oh, I see he said, okay, screw the iBox. Love it. Okay, I answered that. Looking at, you enter. What all should you be looking at when you enter any property? A checklist. That's a whole other conversation as well. Suhani, I know you want all the checklists, but some things, you'll just figure out as you go.
It's just, I don't want to, like, when you, there's always a, what do you say, nervousness when you enter because you're so new, right? And that also makes you forget things you know. So if you have a checklist, you can go back and say, okay, I checked the door, I checked the windows, I checked the floor under the mat.
Yeah, that's not your job. That's a home inspector's job. Your job is to provide them with data and information and take them through their home and give them as much info as you have access to. A home
Okay.
inspector's job is to check all the other stuff.
Got it.
Guys, I do have to go because I'm 10 minutes late for another call. We kind of went from showings to condos, but that's okay. It's whatever you guys need help with. If anybody needs anything or has questions, let me know and I'd be happy to chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's very informative.
Yeah,
Okay,
very good.
have a good
Thank
day.
you. Bye.